Hello, namaste. Welcome to day number 14. So happy we've made it this far together. I wanted just to give an authentic share. Today has been all about really plunging back into my depths, reconnecting with like the deepest parts of myself. It's incredible how far we can stray from our depths and for how long we can abandon ourselves and like somehow tolerate the pain. Because whenever we're straying from our depths and abandoning ourselves, it always produces pain. And I'm realizing, like, oh my gosh, these last few days since I've been in Vegas, how deeply I've been reconnecting with these parts of myself I had really lost connection with, and didn't even know I was so out of contact with them. And that's the thing, when we're not living from our depths, when we're not connected to ourself fully, it's so easy to not even know that we're not connected. It's so easy for us to think that we're more connected than we are, and it's I think we all, because we've gone through so much, we have such a tolerance for pain, we have such a high threshold for pain that it takes so much of it at times to really be like, wow, I'm really not connected to myself. And I kind of felt like that's what happened to me for a while there. Um, and this is like a spiral, right? It's a spiral. So sometimes we're in this flow where we're deeply connected to ourselves. We're living from our depths. Our actions are coming from a place of beingness. And we just feel like this wholeness and fullness. And then another layer comes up and we're seeing through another layer of trauma. And then we're off spinning into addiction and into codependency. We're abandoning ourselves because we have fears, we have fears of survival, whatever type of fears are arising that cause us to think we need to abandon ourselves. And we start doing that. And then we kind of go through that nightmare for a while. And while we're going through the nightmare, the nightmare is the divine too. Because when we're in that kind of nightmare where we're abandoning ourselves, we're actually going to the depths of these old patterns that say we have to do that. We're living them out. It's like that we're really going through that karma. We're dissolving that karma of that pattern as we live it out and feel the pain of living out the pattern that says we have to abandon ourselves. It's like that pattern is resolving as we're living it out. So it's just a spiral. So like we have those times where we're really connected, and then we reach another layer of lack and scarcity and fear programming, and sometimes there's too much momentum there, and it has too much of a karmic hold that we just have to live it out. But as we're living it out, we're learning. That's where we learn when we live those patterns out. We learn so deeply when we're abandoning ourselves. That's what it's like, that darkness, as we're living through it really starts stripping away and incinerating the false self. So it's okay, when we're in that place, because it's all the divine, it's all this perfect orchestration. So when you are straying from yourself, when you aren't living from a place of beingness and trust, and you find yourself in the old programs of fear and lack and scarcity, that's okay, because as you're living that out with awareness, as you're aware of the pain when you're living that out and abandoning yourself, you start to release it. You start to like really feel that contrast. Like, oh, this is what it feels like to live in this old paradigm of fear. And you get to like know it in your bones. And then it's like, this is what it feels like to give away my power, to abandon myself. And as you do that, you get this like in your bones experience, this contrasting experience of what it is. And as the pain becomes so much that you finally have to surrender it. This is why pain and suffering are the greatest liberators. Because once the pain reaches a certain threshold of you abandoning yourself and living out that old pattern, that's when it releases. Unfortunately, for so many of us, it cannot be any other way. At least so far on my journey, that's been so real to me. And so you release that pattern because it becomes too painful, and then because you're willing to face your fears now of survival, of lack, of whatever it is, just to be in your truth, to be aligned with yourself. Because the pain of abandoning yourself has just become too great. It's like that pattern has done its job now. It's like you've learned everything you can from that old lack and scarcity-based program, and it just gets to fall away because you've like wringed it out fully in your beingness. Like your soul, you could say your eternal soul has really just gotten everything it could out of that old pattern. So you get to release it. And you could even say that these patterns, they release you on their timing. All of this happens in divine timing. And that's what I'm experiencing is, wow, I just put down some, or you could say the divine released some really heavy patterns from my being that I was living out. And so these last few days has been all about coming back to me, coming back to my depths, and just being like, oh my gosh, it feels so good to be me again. It's just like, haven't been me in a while. I'm getting so many goosebumps as I say that. And what really, I just had this session with a client this morning, and it was just flooded with so much beingness and depth and peace and spaciousness. And like I said in the beginning, it's kind of like we forget what that's like when we're doing the whole karmic pattern, when we're living out that pattern for a while. We kind of forget what it's like to be connected to ourselves, to be living from our depths, to feel peace in our nervous system. Because when we're living out those old patterns, we just feel a lot of frenetic energy and pain and just like a lot of disturbance. It's just like you can't relax, because it's like your inner being is trying to signal you like, hey, you're abandoning yourself, but that old pattern has such a hold on you and you can't help but live it out because you just need to learn from it some more before it releases from your being. And that pain is the greatest teacher. That suffering from living out that pattern is teaching you what your truth is, that contrast. So when you come back into your beingness, like I have these last few days, it's just like, oh yeah, this is it. This is who I am. I'm just this moment. I'm not all those ideas and stuff I'm not the separate self. And from this place of beingness, everything's included, right? The separate self, all of it, the ideas, we're holding space for all of it. But yeah, I was having this session, it was just so flooded with beingness and peace. And we had this deep meditation together. And it was just like this beautiful divine reminder of who I am, what I'm here to do, and what has been released from my energy field now, what I'm free from because I experienced it out. Another way of saying this is just like because I lived some of my karma out, I burned some of it away. And so yeah, I've just been going into my depths, just so much rest. I felt so much pain. It's like when we really connect to beingness and peace and relaxation, that's when our nervous system starts to really relax. When we're in our power, it's like our nervous system can feel safe enough to relax. And when we're not abandoning ourselves, it's like the system, it just becomes this, it naturally falls into this place of ease. And that's when old, really buried pains and like frozen, stuck energies, samskaras, or I think they're called, that's when these can come up to be released. And that's what I've been feeling these last 3 days, just like so achy, so much pain, but like a really good way. I can feel it's coming up and out, and just so tired, but like this delicious tired where it's just like, oh, like I'm just like really melting into myself, melting into beingness, letting the system rest. When we live those old patterns out for a while, it can be so taxing to the nervous system and to the body. It's like it can be so exhausting living out those patterns and having to learn from them and doing that thing. I mean, I've done it so many times, and I'm sure you guys can relate that what's needed for us is to integrate and to rest after we've gone through some stressful events, after things have, it's like we're just moving so fast. We didn't even know we were living an old pattern until the awareness got big enough to show us, right? So it's like, it's not like we did anything wrong. It's just like the awareness is expanding so fast that we're just learning about all these old patterns and all these old programs that have been controlling us. And it's just like, oh my gosh, I was being controlled by that pattern, by that conditioning. And so it's not like we're doing anything wrong. It's just like we're growing and expanding so fast that these patterns are being revealed so rapidly. But yeah, I think that's enough for today. So maybe you guys are having some ascension symptoms of being tired, the achiness, cold, chills, burning up, headaches, acne, just purging. Just get lots of rest, lots of water. Really, really allow yourself to let go into beingness, to make connection with yourself. And yeah, I just want to share what I've been learning, and this is what I'm feeling today. And everything's moving so fast. So yeah, much love to you guys. I will see you in day 15. Namaste.